Little excursion. We had to take this little few weeks of excursion, but it's been incredible. Our military is unbelievable, the job they're doing. I would say, to put it mildly, way ahead of schedule. We've knocked out their Navy, their military in all forms. We've knocked out just about everything there is, including their leadership. Twice. We knocked out twice their leadership. And now they have a new group coming up. Let's see what happens to them. But 47 bad years we suffered with them, not only us, the rest of the world. And we're doing our job. So we had to take an excursion, but it's doing well. The market's holding up well. I figured we'd be hit a little bit, but we were hit probably less than I thought, and we'll be back on track in pretty.
Tonight, something remarkable is happening in American politics, and it's happening in a place that many people once believed would never change. A state that was long considered a reliable stronghold for one side of the political spectrum is suddenly showing signs of shifting. New polling numbers are sending shockwaves through political circles, revealing a dramatic drop in support for the former president in a state he once dominated.
President Trump. They cheated some senators. There's people that are up here in the Senate and the House right now that got in because the ballot boxes were stuffed, okay? And it's just unfortunate. The census was changed. We should have more Republican seats than Democrat seats, not just 1 or 2 more, but 10 to 12 more. It's all coming out in the open. President Trump is doing a good job of keeping his eye focused on everything else. But at the end of the day, we have got to.
For years, this state was viewed as a safe victory. Election after election, the margins were comfortable. Campaign strategists treated it almost like guaranteed territory. But now the numbers tell a very different story. According to the latest surveys, the former president's approval has plunged deep into negative territory. The decline is sharp enough that political analysts are beginning to ask a question that would have sounded unthinkable not long ago. Could this state actually flip? To understand why these numbers are shifting, you have to look at what people on the ground are experiencing right now. For many families, the economic pressure has become impossible to ignore. The cost of living continues to rise. Groceries are more expensive. Rent and mortgage payments are climbing, and basic necessities feel harder to afford with every passing month. Many workers say their paychecks simply are not stretching as far as they used to. Gas prices have become one of the most visible signs of that pressure. In just a short period of time, drivers across the state have watched prices jump dramatically. Some areas have seen increases of nearly 50 cents per gallon in a single week. For families who rely on their vehicles to get to work, take children to school, or commute long distances, that kind of spike hits immediately. Every trip to the gas station becomes a reminder that the economic situation is changing, and not in a way that feels positive. Energy costs are also rising in other ways. Utility bills in several parts of the state have started climbing, partly driven by massive data center projects that require enormous amounts of electricity. These facilities promise technological growth, but critics argue that ordinary residents are being forced to absorb the rising costs through higher power bills. For people already struggling to keep up with inflation, even a small increase in utilities can push household budgets to the breaking point. At the same time, the job market is sending mixed signals. Some industries continue to expand, but others, especially in manufacturing, are showing signs of contraction. In a state where factory work has long been a backbone of the economy, any slowdown in manufacturing creates serious anxiety. Entire communities depend on those jobs. When factories reduce production or delay hiring, the ripple effects spread quickly through local businesses, small shops, and family-owned stores. Healthcare costs have also become a major issue. Many residents say insurance premiums and medical bills are rising faster than their incomes. For people who depend on government assistance programs or subsidized healthcare plans, the fear of losing coverage is very real. Some families are already seeing changes to their plans, and that uncertainty has turned healthcare into one of the most emotional issues in the political debate. All of this is happening while the federal government is spending enormous amounts of attention and money on overseas conflicts. Critics argue that resources being poured into foreign military operations could be used to address problems at home. For people struggling to pay bills or keep their small businesses afloat, that frustration is growing louder. The political atmosphere has become even more heated because of a major corruption trial unfolding inside the state. The case involves allegations of massive bribery schemes connected to energy policy. Investigators say hundreds of millions of dollars were funneled through political channels to influence legislation. Several political figures have already faced convictions, and others have been pulled into the investigation as witnesses. The scandal has left many voters feeling that the political system has been working for powerful insiders rather than ordinary citizens. And the fallout from that scandal is now spilling directly into upcoming elections. One of the most surprising developments is the governor's race. In a state that typically leans conservative, a new poll shows a Democratic candidate leading by roughly 10 points. That kind of margin in a traditionally red state is almost unheard of. Political strategists on both sides are now scrambling to understand whether this is a temporary shift or the beginning of something much larger. The Senate race is also drawing intense attention. Early numbers suggest a tight contest with voters deeply divided over economic policy, corruption concerns, and the direction of the country. Campaigns on both sides are pouring resources into advertising and organizing, knowing that this state could play a critical role in shaping the balance of power in Washington. Meanwhile, the former president recently visited the state to promote his economic policies and defend his leadership. Speaking to supporters, he described the current moment as one of the most successful periods of his presidency. He argued that the economy is strong, markets are resilient, and international conflicts are under control. According to his remarks, the country is not facing a crisis, but rather a brief challenge that will soon pass. However, many residents listening to those claims say the reality they experience every day feels very different. When people walk into grocery stores and see prices rising, when they fill up their cars and watch the total climb higher, or when they open utility bills that are larger than expected, it becomes difficult for them to believe that everything is going perfectly. That gap between political messaging and everyday experience may be one of the biggest factors driving the sudden shift in public opinion. What makes this situation even more fascinating is the unique nature of the state's voters. Many communities are politically mixed, meaning neighbors can have completely different views about the direction of the country. In some neighborhoods, one household may strongly support the administration, while the next household expresses deep frustration with it. That kind of political balance makes the state one of the most unpredictable battlegrounds in the nation.